Hello everyone. On this channel, I feel that information about what is happening in China is often not correctly conveyed to countries other than China, so I will be disseminating the information I have gathered in English. I'm getting information from multiple media, so I'd be happy if you could comment on the content of the video. Also, English is not my native language, so I use an AI speaker to create the voice to convey the information correctly. I'm very happy that it seems that everyone's eyes are on it little by little. As the world situation becomes unstable, I feel frustrated that information about the economic superpowers is not properly disseminated overseas. Not all of my information is correct, but I'm happy to hear that there is such information. This time it's everyone's favorite gold. A story about Chinese and gold. Gemstones and precious metals are very popular in China. As I mentioned in my previous video, consumption trends differ between the wealthy and non-rich in China. That is why wealthy people are actively buying precious metals and jewelry. In developed countries like Japan and America, precious metals are for fashion. Also, from the perspective of investment, I think that there is also the purpose of measures against inflation. Unlike stocks, gold does not earn interest if held. Gold investment flourishes when inflation is likely to occur. Gold is required when the value of cash decreases due to inflation even if you have cash. What about China today? The Chinese Communist Party continues to ease monetary policy. Monetary easing is trying to improve the environment around money by circulating a lot of money in the market. Although we are doing monetary easing, we are not easing too much, so it is not extreme inflation. So why were precious metals bought even though there was no inflation? There seems to be a reason why this is a little different from the common sense and sense of developed countries such as Japan. In China, it is not safe to deposit money in a bank. Is the bank failure that recently occurred at a regional bank in the United States also happening in China? Are you afraid that the money you deposit will never come back? There are such concerns in China, but in the case of China, the situation is more outrageous. In the case of China, there are times when banks lose money even if they do not go bankrupt. For example, in China, bankers cheat and use depositors' money without permission. I think you can get it back in court. In China, it is treated as a personal crime of the employee, not the responsibility of the bank, so the bank does not guarantee it. And in other cases the bank refuses to issue a refund. Even major banks use various means to block withdrawals. If you try to withdraw a large amount of money, there is a possibility of fraud, so you will not be able to withdraw unless you bring a certificate that identifies you, or you will need to be screened. This is a social problem that has been occurring frequently even now, even if it was a problem before and was not solved. Therefore, wealthy people who have a certain amount of money come to think that it is dangerous to deposit it in the bank. There was a trend to buy jewelry and precious metals without depositing money in the bank. Do you know how much the highest denomination Chinese banknote is? When converted to Japanese yen, the bill of about 2,000 yen is the highest denomination bill. If a person who owns a large amount of money holds it in cash, it will become a large amount of banknotes. There is an idea to issue high denomination banknotes called 10,000 yen bills in Japan, but China has a culture of counterfeit bills, so it is unlikely that large denomination banknotes will be traded. Because of this situation, China needs to change to gems and gold. For some Chinese people with economic literacy, it also leads to movements to prepare for a decline in the value of money. While Europe and the United States are raising interest rates, China is easing interest rates. In other words, the value of the renminbi is relatively declining. However, what I want to tell you in this video is not only the Chinese people, but the problem is that the country is buying gold. In an article around April this year, it was reported that China's central bank had increased its gold holdings for 5 consecutive months. China is not the only country to purchase gold at the national level. What are the reasons for buying gold at the national level? Around March of this year, a joint meeting of ASEAN finance ministries and central banks was held. At the meeting, the policy was discussed to stop relying on the dollar in financial transactions and trade and to use the domestic currency in the future. It is common sense to use US dollars for international transactions. As long as you use the dollar, you are susceptible to American policies and policies. In this war between Ukraine and Russia, some ASEAN countries have not joined the sanctions against Russia. I want to trade with Russia as long as I trade in dollars, but I can't trade because I can't use dollars. Then, if you ask if you can use another currency, the current situation is that it is difficult to trade because there is no trade framework for currency transactions other than the dollar. So why does buying gold matter? Which country's currency is appropriate to use in international transactions in the future when using the domestic currency instead of using the dollar? If we use the renminbi, we will be dependent on the renminbi and will be affected by China. ASEAN member countries do not want to be influenced by the intentions of foreign countries, so if the currency of a specific country is used as the base currency, it will not change from the era of the dollar. Gold, which has been used as an international currency in the history of mankind, will appear. Gold is a stateless currency that does not belong to any country. Only in ASEAN, we will not be dependent on a specific country by doing trade centering on gold. However, if all international transactions are made gold, the amount of currency will be restricted by the amount of gold held, and economic policies will also be restricted. I think it is possible to use gold only for trade. It is thought that China is behind this movement of ASEAN. Relations between China and the United States are not good at present. Since we do not know when China will receive economic sanctions from the United States, we would like to quit the system that depends on the dollar. However, even if you suddenly propose to change from the dollar to the renminbi, it will not be accepted because it will only change from American control to Chinese control. Therefore, I propose to use gold, which is a stateless currency, for international transactions. Since I am stateless, I think it is easy for my proposal to be accepted. While eliminating dollars and euros, China may be planning to increase its gold holdings and use its gold holdings as strengths to dominate other countries in the future. If such a plan is in progress, it is necessary to pay attention to the countries where gold purchases are increasing. As an aside, Indonesia takes the position that credit card payments should be reduced. Credit card payments are a system in which huge American companies such as Visa and Master take profits little by little as fees. So when credit card payments become commonplace, part of the country's wealth will continue to flow to the United States. I think that it is dangerous not only for Indonesia but also for other countries to emulate the idea that it is dangerous to build a system in which one's own wealth flows to other countries. That's all for now. See you next time.